London Bridge is falling down, but your portfolio doesn't have to.
David, I think that begs to answer the age-old question. How come every time you come around, my London Bridge loan has to go down? What's going on here?
We're going to answer that and more in today's Mortgage Monday. Welcome to Mortgage Monday. We were just having a conversation about what to call BP fans. Justin Bieber has Beliebers. Taylor Swift has Swifties. Grateful Dead fans are called Deadheads. Christian and I are thinking that we should call BP fans Bippers. And Christian, you came up with the idea. What do you think about calling BP fans Bippers?
I think Bippers is a good fit, right? They're a little bit out of the norm. They like to do stuff creatively. I think Bippers is hitting the nail on the head. I like it.
All right. So all of you Bippers out there, you are going to learn about a new loan product today. Well, not new for everyone, but new if you haven't heard about it. These are bridge products.
But before we get into that, David, at DealMachine, they provide powerful tools for real estate investors to find and close off-market real estate deals, manage their business, and achieve financial freedom. In fact, their app has helped over 150,000 investors in their real estate journey, earning a rating of 4.8 stars with over 5,000 reviews. Whether you're still looking for your first deal or you have a thriving real estate business, their app is built to make real estate simple. Find and add properties, contact the owner in seconds, automate your marketing, and more. Try DealMachine for free today at www.dealmachine.com/BPYouTube. Unlock your real estate investing potential, build generational wealth at your fingertips, and start your journey to success today.
So let's start off, Christian. Tell me, what is a bridge loan?
Yeah, bridge loans, it's funny. It's one of those things that's kind of like a commercial loan, right? People use, or like hard money even. It's a term that people have kind of made their own, and it's kind of all encompassing. The idea of it, you just break it down to the basis of what the word means. It's a loan product. I call it a Band-Aid, right? It's a loan product meant to get you from point A to point B, similar to how a bridge would. Historically, when they first arrived, they were meant to get you out of a primary and into a new one before you sold, right? So you could be leaving a property, have it on the market, be in contract, and you could get a temporary bridge loan that would give you the funds to buy the new one before you sold the old one. And it kind of bridged the sale and the purchase. Those are still available. That is still a loan product. But more frequently now, what people refer to as bridge loans are short-term debt. They've almost become interchangeable with hard money loans in a lot of cases. Bridge loans, similar to the ones that we've gotten you, David, similar to ones that I've gotten, similar to the ones that we've gotten clients of the one brokerage. A bridge is typically that first B in BRRRR, right? I know that's buy, but that kind of encompasses the bridge concept of, everybody who's familiar with the BRRRR strategy, you get a short-term loan that could include renovations, it could include the purchase price, and that's intended to bridge you from the buy to the refinance, right? It's a bridge product. And the idea is it is short-term debt, typically higher interest, with the intention of getting out of it quickly. And that could be a refinance into a conventional loan, a DSCR, yada, yada.
All right. So is it fair to say that this is like a form of a hard money loan?
It is in a lot of cases. Now, the truists out there will probably say, no, bridge means this by definition. So many people refer to different things when they talk about bridges. The idea withstands with all of them, though, that is meant to Band-Aid or stopgap the purchase to the exit strategy, right? And absolutely, that is a format of hard money loans, right? Get you from that initial purchase with renovation through to that exit strategy refinance.
And that's why they are called a bridge. They're bridging the gap. And a little bit of knowledge for you if you want to sound smart at your next meetup. Hard money loans are not called hard money because if you don't pay it, somebody will come break your knees. It's not a Tanya Harding loan. It's actually a loan that is being made that is backed by a hard asset. So some hard money loans could be backed by a vehicle or jewelry or different forms of collateral. Typically the kind that we talk about in real estate are real estate loans, but we differentiate them between normal loans because hard money loans are not going to be something that you could get on a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. They're a shorter period of time. All right. So now that you know what a bridge loan is and how it can be used in your portfolio, typically to buy an asset that you are going to convert for some other purpose and get into traditional financing later, which we'll get into in a second here, it is worth mentioning one of the reasons that I love these products and I use them all the time is you can not only borrow the money to buy the property, but you can borrow the money for the rehab as well. Christian, explain how it works when somebody wants to borrow money for the rehab on one of these and why this might be a better option than that 203K loan that everybody asks about and rarely ever works.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Just to encompass what this hard money bridge, fix and flip financing, whatever you want to call it. Some people call it, there's all the lenders that were at BiggerPockets. We just got back from BPCon, by the way, guys. Shout out to everybody who was there. That was a fun event for all of us. But there were a bunch of fix and flip lenders, right? That was almost all the lenders that were there. They pretty much all offer the same concept. They're offering a bridge product. And how it's structured is that typically they will give you a percentage of your purchase price. So let's just play numbers here. Let's say you're buying a $100,000 house. Most lenders will cut you off at a 20% down payment. So that means just for the purchase, they're giving you $80,000 to purchase. However, let's say you have $50,000 of renovations that you're planning. Depending on your success and your resume of your flips that you've done in the past, lenders will give you between maybe 50% on the low end up to 100% of your renovation costs. So even though you're only buying it for $150, if the lender gives you 80% of the purchase, that's $80,000, and 100% of the renovation, assuming you have experience, you could actually get, what is that? 80 and 50 is $130,000 loan to only purchase a $100,000 house. Now, that doesn't mean they're over leveraging. They limit it based on the exit value. Okay. So if this house you're adding $50,000 and let's say it's going to be worth $200,000. Okay. Let's just for some numbers here. They're going to limit their total leverage usually to around 75%, not of the purchase price, but of the exit value. Okay. So they will allow you to leverage the renovation up to 75%, what we call loan to value based on the exit value. But there's a loan to purchase upfront where you're only technically getting 20% down, right? You're getting 80,000 of the 100,000 purchase. So your loan to cost is different though, right? LTC is a phrase that not a lot of people are as familiar with. That's your total cost of the project. How much of that is financed? And in this case, it would be what? 130 out of $150,000 purchase.
All right. And can you briefly explain the difference between loan to value and loan to cost?
Yeah. Loan to value is the loan to value of the entire project. The loan to cost is what you're putting in. So in this situation, your loan to value would be based on the $200,000 exit, right? That assuming your 50,000 created 100,000 of equity. So your loan to value would be, let's say, we had a total leverage of 130 into a $200,000 value. You just whip up my handy dandy calculator real quick. That would be 130,000 divided by 200,000 is going to be 65 loan to value. That's what that loan would be. However, you're purchasing and renovating for what? 100 plus 50. Okay. And they're giving you 130,000. I don't want to lose everybody in the numbers here, but we're getting 80%, right? 20% down to the purchase and 100% of renovation finance. So that's 130 divided by 150. Your loan to cost is actually 87. Okay. So you want to buy a property with 13% down. You're technically only putting 13% of your own money into what's known as the loan to cost. What is the cost of this project, which is purchase price plus renovations? In our case, that's 100 purchase plus 50 renovation.
And it's much easier to get than the 203K loans where technically, yes, you can do it, but it's hard to get a buyer to agree to it. It's hard to get a contractor to agree to doing that, especially in a hot market. These loans are much simpler to get your rehab costs so that you can get in and improve the value of the property, which is why I love them for BRRRR projects. That's typically what I do. People always say, well, how do you go in and buy the property? Well, you can use cash, you can use a HELOC, or you could use one of these bridge payments. Now, Christian, what about the bridge versus the HELOC? These are both alternative forms of financing. When should someone go bridge? When should they do HELOC? And is there a combination where they can do both?
The dream is a combination of both. The biggest discerning factor is most people don't have access to a HELOC large enough to facilitate an entire deal, right? In our case here, buying a $100,000 property, which is not very many properties in America, as most of the investors know, right? That would mean you would need a property already in your portfolio that has access to $130,000 of equity to accomplish this deal. The bridge product does not require you to tap into equity you already have. It would just require that down payment to finance. If you have a HELOC though, is there a benefit to having short-term debt on a HELOC where you can pay off and draw again and pay off and draw again without originating a new loan every time? There is 100%. The downside is not everybody has a property that they can leverage via a HELOC, right? Where a bridge loan doesn't need a pre-existing property, they just need the subject property. Okay. The perfect strategy is when you can leverage a HELOC, use that as the down payment and get a bridge loan for the remainder, right? Now we got to be careful, 100% financing and all that, but a savvy, experienced investor could potentially complete a renovation with no money out of pocket if he's leveraging a HELOC he already has and a bridge loan to finance the purchase and renovation.
So you start with a bridge loan, which you're borrowing, say 85% of the purchase price and 85% of the rehab cost, which means you're on the hook for 15% of your own money for both. But if you're taking that out of a HELOC, which is still your money, you're just converting your equity into money, but it's not your cash, so to speak. It's not money that was coming out of your bank account. You can keep some of that money in the bank to handle overages or reserves or something. And then once the project is completed and you refinance into conventional loans, or maybe I should say traditional financing, because it might not be a conventional loan, but still some kind of a long-term 30-year fixed rate, you pay back the HELOC and boom, you bought a property for no money out of your own pocket. Now that kind of brings us to the end here. How do we pair bridge loans with HELOC HELOCs and then get into a traditional product? What does the ideal timeline look like?
If you work with us, we have it structured in a very, very easy to understand way. We care more about the exit than we do the purchase. David, you use your analogy a lot of if something's easy to get into up front, it's going to be hard to get out of. We make sure we satisfy all the requirements of that exit strategy loan before we go put somebody in a bridge loan. This is incredibly important, guys. I can't tell you how many clients have come to us who have gotten loans from other lenders. I'm not going to say names out here, but all the lenders that you guys, I'm sure, are running in similar groups, they go and they just do bridge loans. That's a huge difference with getting good advice and guidance from a lender who knows both types of these loan products, right? If a lender only does bridge loans, they're only in business to get you that quick band-aid short-term debt. Now, the problem with them is that they may have a balloon payment. They may have, a due in full after 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, right? And regardless of how your project has gone, regardless of if the market's pivoted, whatever, they want their money back in full. That's tricky if you haven't planned for that. Now, to answer your question, David, to pair these with long-term, you can call it conventional, DSCR, whatever, long-term good debt, that's what we pre-approve people for. We say, assuming we put in this value, assuming maybe you're adding a bathroom or a bedroom or some square footage or putting a new kitchen in, all these things that give you value add. We say, assuming you get a property back at this value and knowing that it'll rent for this much, we pre-approve people for the exit strategy refinance long before they get the bridge loan. And that's the perfect unison of both of these projects. This is, we're discussing, the people who are following this episode, like we're discussing the BRRRR strategy. That's what we're discussing, right? Short-term debt for the buy and the renovate, the first two letters, the buy and the renovate, right? That can be accomplished through either a combination of HELOCs and bridge or just bridge. Then you get to the rent, right? That's where now the property stabilized. In our example, we set that to be a $200,000 value. Good. That would come with a certain rent number. Let's call it $1,500 a month. We would know, hey, now this property would support a DSCR loan or would support a conventional loan. And you could package it perfectly with getting it acquired, getting it renovated, and getting it refinanced at the end of the day. Now you have a cash flowing property that you didn't have to go put 20% down on. You let, sweat equity do its work. You let the cash flow now do its work on the back end. And hopefully, if you do a perfect BRRRR, you have all, if not most, of your money back in your pocket that you started with.
It is all about the execution of this deal. Now, before we get out of here, Christian, last question for you. What happens if something goes wrong, and what can go wrong with this strategy of acquiring with a bridge loan, using a bridge loan for the rehab financing, and then trying to exit out of it into traditional financing?
If anybody could just take one thing from this episode, please, if you're listening to this in the car, if you're watching this on YouTube, just perk your ears up real quick. This is the only thing that I really want you to take from this video. Don't do your own valuations. Don't just assume, oh, this property down the street sold for $200, so I'm going to take 6 months to renovate it, and it's also going to sell for $200, right? You don't know the story of that deal. Get with a loan officer, get with a realtor, pull actual comparables, right? We're going to order an appraisal and do all that, but if you get the advice and guidance from people who are familiar with these loan products, you can avoid these situations like you're referencing, David. If you do all this work, you do all these renovations, and your contractor underquoted you and ended up invoicing you $20,000, $30,000 more than you expected, and now the property appraises for $20,000 or $30,000 less than you hope so. Now you got a $50,000, $60,000 swing that happened there, right? You're not going to be able to go exit that without putting in money. The worst case scenario is that you put in money for the down payment, you get a bridge, you renovate it, and then you go to refinance, and there's not enough equity there. So you have to bring money to the table to refinance, and that's not what anybody wants, right? That means we didn't do our numbers properly.
Now, let me throw in my 2 cents before we get out of here. I am much more comfortable in today's market where it's harder to make things work and the margin for error is smaller, to see people using their HELOCs to cover that gap at the end. You didn't have quite enough money to complete the refinance. If you got to pull 30 grand, 40 grand, 50 grand from your HELOC to make it up, that's okay. I'd rather see that than people pulling out money from their HELOC to put 20% down on a whole new property that they're also going to be taking out debt for the other 80% on. It's very hard to make those work. So if you can do that, great. I'm not going to tell you not to, but I wouldn't be looking at HELOCs as just down payment for properties. HELOCs can also be insurance policies when it comes to a BRRRR that goes wrong to cover your butt on the backside. Christian, thank you for helping me break down what bridge products are and who they are best for, as well as what type of projects they're best for. If people want to know more about these products or get a hold of you, where can they go?
Yeah, guys, we offer these. Obviously, those of you who follow along know this. The One Brokerage is our website. You can catch me directly on Instagram, social medias, all in general at The One Broker. And then my email is christian@theonebrokerage.com if you just want to shoot an email over to me directly and we can help you out.
And I am David Green 24 on all social media. Send me a message. I check Instagram the most. Go check out my YouTube at David Green 24, and you can find more about what I got going on at davidgreen24.com. Let us know in the comments what you thought about today's show. Did you learn something you didn't know before? And is your mind racing with possibilities of how to BRRRR in today's market? Also, let us know what topics you'd like to see future shows on, and we will make them. Thanks a lot, Christian. I will see you guys on the next one.